Okay, so you want to make a mead, but the only honey you can find comes in containers that look like this. Okay, there's no reason to let that stop you. It's certainly not going to stop me. We're going to go ahead and make our mead using honey bear honey. That's the honey that you'll find in that nice, attractive honey bear container. Now, to make our mead, we are going to need the following. We need 3 pounds or 4 12-ounce containers of honey, 100%. We are going to zest and juice 2 oranges. We'll need the juice of 1/4 of a lemon, which is going to act as our acid blend substitute. We are going to need a 1/2 teaspoon of bread yeast. That's the original actin dry yeast. That's going to act as our yeast nutrient. And if you don't have wine yeast, that can also act as your wine yeast. Speaking of wine yeast, I'm going to be using a Red Star Premier Blanc wine yeast, primarily because of its higher ABV potential of 18%. We're going to need less than a gallon of clean filtered water. Basically, we want to bring our level up to the 1 gallon mark over and above the honey we put in. So have at least 1 gallon of clean filtered water at the ready. You're going to need at least 1 carboy, jug, demijohn, take your pick. Preferably 2. One to do your initial or primary fermentation in, and then later on, in a couple of weeks, when you're ready to rack it from one container to the other, you'll have the other one ready and available to you. Of course, you'll need at least 1 airlock with bung to release CO2 and keep the bugs from getting in. This, of course, is optional, but having a hydrometer with testing tube would be helpful to let you know how much alcohol you're going to be producing in the final results. Having a zester and juicer would be helpful when we zest and juice our oranges. And of course, as always, as I like to say, last but certainly not least, your favorite food grade sanitizer of choice, whether it's One Step, Star San, or some other suitable equivalent, that is what we're going to be using to make our honey bear mead. Okay, now, in order to help our honey flow more smoothly out of the little containers, I prepared a little tub of hot water. And one of the first things that I want to do is to remove the inner seal, which I find is easier done when everything is cool. And then place our little honey bear into the tub. I'm actually surprised they all came off easily this time. Sometimes I have a pretty good fight with these seals, and certainly when they're warm. So I put in a little bit more warm water, but we'll just go ahead and let that honey warm up a bit while we move on to the next step. All right, I've taken the opportunity to go ahead and let and dry off our oranges, and while our honey is warming up in the warm water bath, we're going to go ahead and zest our oranges. All right, that's enough of that. Let's put that aside for now. Now, with our freshly sanitized carboy and funnel, we'll go ahead and add in our honey to our carboy. By the way, this is a 4-liter carboy. All of my 1 gallon jugs are in use, but that's quite all right. We're just going to go ahead and still use the 1 gallon of water that we currently have. So just go ahead and crack open one of our honey bears. Helps if I put a funnel in. And go ahead and add that to the mix. All right, now there is going to be a little bit of honey left over in the containers. We are going to add in some of our water, and we are going to add that back to our carboy. Pouring in some of our hot water. Bring the cap back on. Giving it a shake. You're pouring it in. All right. Now, we've got 3 cups of honey sitting in here, and we've used 1 cup to dissolve the rest of our honey out of our containers. So try to make 1 gallon, we need to pour off 3 cups. Oh, compensate for the honey. And we're going to pour in some of our water into our cardboard. About 8 much. And we'll put this aside. We're going to put our cap back on, our cardboard. And we're going to dissolve our honey in our water the old-fashioned way. Make sure that's on nice and tight. We're just going to give it a shake until it's dissolved. Which really shouldn't take too long because the water that we used to dissolve the honey in our bottles was actually kind of hot. So this is slightly warm. So that was good enough to dissolve our honey. The next thing we want to do is that we want to go ahead and add in our orange zest. Let's remove our cap again. Having a wide mouth fermenter available will make this a bit easier, but since we don't have one, we're going to take our zest and we are going to, without losing a lot of it, I'm going to cram it down into our fermenter. Now, of course, the orange zest is really optional. It's just to give it a little bit more flavor. Kind of approximating or simulating an orange blossom honey. Put our cap back on for the moment and move on to the next step. Now again, to give it a little bit more orange flavor as well, I'm going to go ahead and take our zested oranges and we're going to go ahead and use those freshly sanitized juicer. And let's go ahead and get ready to add that to our cardboard. Now, using our freshly sanitized strainer, we'll strain out the seeds. Don't really want to ferment those. We're going to add in our orange juice. We can now go ahead and add in the rest of our water. Oh, by the way, this was purely optional. I kind of thought about it a little bit in hindsight. But if you wanted to add some chopped raisins to give it a little bit more body, a little bit more flavor, it would be a good time to have done that as well. But we're keeping this so simple, so there we go. All right, I'm ready to add all of our water. Put my cap back on. Or to put it another way, I want to give it a lot of space in case there's any vigorous fermentation. So I'm keeping it down to about this level here, which is pretty close to being a gallon. So if you've got a gallon jug, you might want to be mindful of that and probably bring your level down so you've got plenty of room to work with, at least during this first primary fermentation. Now, I did mention that we needed a quarter of a lemon wedge, and using a rinsed out strainer, we're going to go ahead and add that to the mix, strain up the seeds. All you do is just give it a good squeeze. And that's going to provide some additional acidity and brightness to our wine. All right, remember that 3 cups of water we reserved because we really did need to add that much to it? Well, let's go ahead and prepare our tannin substitute, a little astringent, and our bread yeast, which is going to act as our yeast nutrient. Again, that was half a teaspoon that I'm using. I've done it with a quarter of a teaspoon, but I'm now going to half a teaspoon. We can add, we don't need much, about a quarter of a cup of our water. And we're going to put this in the microwave for about 30, 40 seconds. Or if you've got a pot, just bring it to a quick low simmer. All right, now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and let this sit for a minute. Give the tea a little bit of time to work. The high temperature has already chilled off the ingredients, which is the state it needs to be in order to be used as a nutrient to our wine yeast, so we'll be adding momentarily shortly. But yeah, let's give it a minute to give that tea time to work out some strength. All right, let's go ahead and add that in. Now, I did take the opportunity to do our hydrometer reading, and it looks like that one's coming in at 1.116. All right, this doesn't start to become a mead until we add in our yeast. And we're talking about our live and kicking yeast, not our dead brethren. Let's go ahead and take off our cap. This is 1/4 teaspoon of our wine yeast. And I don't know how you're going to do it, but if you can spread it out as best you can without just dumping it all in one spot, that's all you need to do. I'm going to put my cap back on because our yeast is floating on a layer of orange zest, and I want to try and incorporate that a bit. And that should do it. Now that our yeast is beginning to wake from its freeze-dried slumber, we're going to need to use an airlock because it's going to start producing CO2, and that needs some way of getting out of the carboy. And we want to keep bugs from getting in. So we can't use our cap anymore, although there is a way in which we can do it. I filled this up with a mixture of water and diluted star sands up to the levels. And we'll just go ahead and insert that head. I always like to do it this way, force of habit, into our carboy. All right, it is now time to label our creation. We are making a honey bear mead. And we started it on this date, making sure I got the right year this time. And our starting gravity was 1.116. Now, of course, this is only the initial beginning process for making this mead. Now, there are several steps involved with subsequent rackings, which I'll need another cardboard for that. And at the end of the process, there'll be a degassing. I don't think it will require back sweetening, but at least it does. We'll be ready for that. Then there's a bottling process, a labeling process, corking, all of that. All of those processes you can find in the winemaking process playlist on my channel page. So there we go. Can you make mead from honey bear honey? We're about to find out. Stay tuned for this one. Okay, it's time for that 1 year taste testing, or in this particular case, 1 year and 12 days. Few particulars, I guess. One, even though the meat itself went clear, when I added in the additional honey for back sweetening, it basically went cloudy again. And normally when I pasteurize by the carboy, after a couple of days, most of the heavy particulate matter would settle down to the bottom, and I can rack above that like a standard rack. And there would be no sediment, or very, very, very tiny amount of sediment in the bottom of the bottle over the passage of time. That usually works most of the time. This time it basically didn't. So the mead basically just remained clear, kind of cloudy. And you know what? That's fine. Okay. Few particulars. One, again, starting gravity was 1.116. The ending gravity ended up at 1.000. It was back sweetened to a gravity of 1.024, I believe. Or to put it simply, I just added in a bottle of honey, 8 ounces of honey, and that was my sweet spot as far as I liked it. So I left it at that. Let's see. Any other particulars? Yeah, ABV came in at 15.23%. Okay, respectable number. Again, it was born 3/4/2023, honey bear mead. Now, the object of this experiment was to try and find the cheapest honey I could find and see if I can make a mead out of it. you can, but whether or not it's drinkable, that's another story. Well, it's drinkable, but whether or not you really want it is another story. So that was the premise for this example. With that having been said, let's go ahead and crack it open. One of these open, of which you can see I made a total of 5 bottles for that 1 gallon batch, which is about normal. Okay. All right. That having been said, that having been done, let's pour a glass. Well, I glance at the time here because I've got to go back out and do some more work later on. So, all right. I keep saying this with virtually all of the wines and meads that I make, but yeah, you can. I mean, in this case, you can, really can. Smell the alcohol. Uh, a bit more than usual, and you can smell the honey. But seeing as how it was just recently back sweetened, that's probably why you're getting that. Wait a minute. What do you mean the memory card is full? Okay, now that that's been corrected, as I was saying before the technical difficulties reared its ugly head, yeah, sweetened with 1 bottle of regular clover honey. I'm guessing that's clover honey. 12 ounces worth. As far as the alcohol percentage is concerned, again, just to repeat, it did come in at 15.23%. And once again, even with take 2, it's still prevalent. Yeah. One thing of note, I would say, if I had to make a change to the original recipe, probably tone down the acidic blend. I think in this case, lemon, which was used as the acid blend substitute. Probably tone that down because that acidity is coming through a bit stronger than I would prefer with this. The alcohol does settle on your tongue. It seems like it leaves down a layer that, yeah, it just wants to sit there for a while. It's not really going anywhere. Uh, uh, Now you're trying to catch me, trying to remember just what I said in take 1 when I did the whole video, thinking that everything was okay. Again, have I made better meads? Yes, I have. Is this drinkable? Yeah, it's drinkable. And if you're looking for something that you want to, when you're drinking for effect, as opposed to drinking for flavor and enjoyment, this is probably going to fit the bill. As far as a traditional mead, which is basically what this was, it's just a little variation of it using what I like to refer to once again as a cost-efficient variety of honey. It does work. Again, is this something that I would make again? No, not because it tastes horrible. I mean, it's definitely drinkable. It's definitely going to get drunk, and more than likely, if that's the effect that you're looking for, you will definitely probably do that as well. Not that I would say you should do that. You should drink in moderation, and if you've got a problem, you might want to talk to somebody about it. But yeah, I mean, it's doable. If this is all you got, I mean, seriously, if this is all you got, then go for it. We'll have just a little bit more because I've got so much I got to do today. That's why these videos are kind of spaced out the way they are these days. Yep, definitely tone down the acidity. Certainly by half, if not completely. Yeah, definitely tone it down. That's the only thing that's giving this one issues. It's not so much the honey, as it is the acidity levels being a bit higher than what they should. But I think I'm going to just leave it at that. As far as once again, if I'd make this again, probably not, because I've made much better meads using much better honey. I mean, it's the quality of your ingredients, and anything you do is really what comes through. And I will just simply let it go at that. Taking a look at my inventory, I've got about 10 or 11. I actually count it this time, 10 or 11 more batches of wine that I have to do the 1 year tastings on. In fact, more than that, because I've got that Zinfandel, that Merlot, and that Chardonnay that I did. I did a 1 year tasting on that, and now I got to do a 2 year tasting on those. So that'll be that. Then I can wrap this channel up. So if you like what you hear, click on that like and subscribe button. Normally this is where I would say help support this channel by becoming a member or Patreon, but I'm going to turn off memberships real soon, and probably turn off Patreons as well as I wrap this channel up. So with that, I'll see you in the next video.